Hello everyone and welcome to this very square review because we've got the Sith TIE Fighter Day, which is a little bit of an older set, but not too old, it's still pretty recent. It actually went on the Prime Day sales, so if anybody picked it up, here you go, so this might be a little bit relevant, maybe not. But this is set 75272, the Sith TIE Fighter, as mentioned before, with 470 pieces. So for $80 retail, this does have a little bit less on the piece count, however, as it is a TIE Fighter, they technically do tend to have some bigger pieces to kind of make up those wings, so it seems kind of reasonable depending on how you look at it. Now, this does, of course, have the very great First Order TIE Pilot, which is honestly really good figure, especially because it has the breathing apparatus, so really round of applause for that character. We also do have one of the Knights of Ren, which is very nice, and then you also get Finn, so you get a little bit of good guy, bad guy action, which is pretty nice. Now, the box itself is in space with the Sith TIE Fighter launching a green missile out. It's also got an explosion in the back. It's zooming, it's going. It's also got Kylo Ren in the corner, as you'd expect. Let's move on to the back. The back is also pretty interesting. You've got the Knight of Ren charging over at Finn. You've got a little bit of showcase of the stand that also comes in here, which is pretty nice to have that, seeing as how you can better display the set. And also you've got access of the little missile firing feature, which is pretty nice, and also how the cockpit opens up so that you can put your pilot in there. But let's jump into the minifigs. Starting in reverse order, we have Finn with some dark blue pants. They could be jeans, they could realistically be anything, with a nice little brown holster on his right leg, which is pretty nice to see. You know, he's got a place to hold his gun, which is pretty nice to see. He does have a belt, as per usual with these characters, and he also does have Poe Dameron's vest, I believe that would be, which is interesting design choice, and I think fits, seeing as with the development of Finn throughout the movies. He does have a little bit of detailing and some little signaling, because markings and all that fun stuff, but he does have a little bit of silver, so some parts of the vest do pop out. He does have a pouch with him, which is pretty nice to see, you know, extra storage. Don't know what you're going to hold in there because you can't really fit anything, but playability wise, you could probably say he has got like a communication device or maybe a thermal detonator. Who knows? He is a bit shocked right now at the disadvantage that he's in, but realistically, he's up against a full TIE Fighter, a Knight of Ren, and also a pilot, so he's got good reason to be. And his hair is a bit of a fluffy black, so he does have a bit accurate hair, and also a gunmetal gray standard issue plaster, so, you know, he's got the full stops. On the back, there's not too much to see, however, he does have a much happier expression because, well, he doesn't have to look at the Imperials right now, so, you know, plus for that, but a little bit sad that the back of the vest, specifically because you can't actually see it because the strap isn't that intrusive, is pretty lackluster, but let's move on to the other figure. Now, the First Order TIE Fighter pilot, very good minifigure. Now, there's not too much detail on the legs. You've got like two grayish stripes and a little bit of more grayish stripes leading up to the torso. But the torso itself has a lot of detail, which we will cover a little bit more depth once we get the helmet off. But the helmet off, with the helmet on, you can see the little breathing tube that comes out from one of the sides of like the helmet into the torso, which is a cool detail to see, which we don't have on the Imperial pilots, which is a good and bad thing depending on how you feel about it, but I think this is a good inclusion because it makes it feel more accurate and believable. And then the helmet has some dark gray detailing so that you can kind of see the mouth and the eyes themselves, because even though it is pretty dark, you can still see some of that detailing. Let's take this helmet. Without the helmet, we have the angry face, which is to be expected of this era, seeing as how only recently we've kind of stepped into more realms of, you know, diverse facial expressions where it's not perpetual anger, but we do have some straps and some detailing there to kind of fully flesh out the breathing apparatus and to kind of make this feel like a suit with all the flight gear that you might need and the various tools to kind of help stabilize yourself so that you're not kind of floating about and kind of just wondering what's going out in space, which is very nice to see. You know, good detailing. We can kind of fully believe that this is actually a pilot and not just some random child in a costume, which is pretty good to see. Let's move on to the back. which again is a little sad, but we still do see some of that armor plating, which is much more apparent back here, even though the pilots don't have too much armor plating because, well, if you get shot while inside of a TIE fighter, it's just kind of going to blow up and take you with it. So, not too much to see there. Still a fantastic minifigure. Let's see the Knight of Ren. Now, this is one of the 6 Knights of Ren, spanning across 4 sets: the transport, Kylo Ren's transport, the Sith TIE fighter, and of course Poe Dameron's purple, not purple. Why did I think of purple immediately? No, this is the white, blue, and orange X-Wing. So, pretty wide spectrum of sets, ranging from $70 to $130, but this one right here does have a gunmetal gray sword and is a combination of gunmetal gray and black, which is definitely a good choice for these Knights of Ren's, as they do feel like knights in that sense, but they also feel like they have got some really good armor that can kind of help them through the many battles that they might be in. Now, this does have a bit of an aesthetic of armor, but it also has like a robe on the torso and the legs, which is quite strange because it doesn't really match that aesthetic with the arms, but I digress. You do have some white speckles on there, which is quite interesting because it kind of helps maybe roughen it up a little bit, but you also do get many straps and belts on this character, which is quite an interesting inclusion, plus a little bit of a side button, which is quite interesting in red, that you might be able to see over on the left side. Camera-wise, it's on the right, and then also a large belt buckle. The helmet is a little bit of a drippy hat, which kind of feels like you'd have like your winter hat with, like a winter hat. I feel like that's the best way to put it. And then the head is a bit interesting, us at least. Let me see if I can make it a little bit more visible. It's still pretty hard to see, but you can kind of see the impression of some glasses or eye slits with a bit of like a tusk undermouth, like they'd be battle ready and have like a specifically made helmet like the rest of them do, because they are all very specialized and have their own unique details. The back, meanwhile, reminds me more of like the battle armor or like chest piece plating that was kind of presented on the front, but was more replaced by like a robe aesthetic. This one more feels like you've got some like back plating, but it can also resemble that robe. So it's very interesting as to what you might think this character looks like, because I don't quite remember all the Knights of Ren from the movies, so I could very well be wrong, but anyways, it's still a very nice character. Let's move on to the ship. Now for this ship, we're going to move into a bit of more of a free camera state to fully visualize it. Now, it does have black and red, as expected for the wings. However, the main chassis of this is a dark gray, with, of course, a nice little windshield made of red. Now, you can open these pretty easily. It is a little bit squeaky from dust, as can be imagined, because you do need a lot of upkeep to kind of keep these from dust if you don't have glass shelving. But on the inside, you do see some control panels and just enough space to put a minifigure in. However, it is even a tight fit for the pilot in there, which is quite interesting. And also the little thrusters on the back do tend to separate due to how you have to open it. It does have the top as you'd expect, and it is quite rounded off to kind of give the proper aesthetic as you might expect. Now, going on to the wings themselves, they are triangular shaped as to be expected, and have a easy use system to fire off these. I believe I'm doing this correctly. There you go. It is now next to the Emperor's Palace, but I digress. It does have 2 layers of these triangles, which is quite nice and I assume accurate. So you do have all of that jazz. You do have some more thrusters on the wings, along with some angling, which is to kind of help round off and kind of separate it, to kind of give it that fully fleshed out look. You can easily take it off with the stand, pick it up, swoosh it around as you like. You can go ahead, have a battle or 2 if you wish, and then you can put it either down on the side, laying flat like this, which is why they included the stand, because not all people want to display their First Order Sith TIE Fighter like it's just trying to find and pick up all of its coins that it dropped on the ground, because of course, that is exactly what everybody wants, but the stand is pretty simple. Nothing too much to say. It does have some red, but it's really easy to use. You just put it so that the front two hooks, this one and this one, lay on the two red studs, and you're good. You've got your Sith TIE Fighter on its stand, and it's ready to be launched into another battle. Nothing too crazy about this set, seeing as how it is TIE Fighter and it doesn't really have too much playability details other than the fact that it's a ship and you can kind of move around, whereas something like the Razor Crest or the Millennium Falcon have a lot of interior space simply because of the vehicle that they're trying to be, their increased cost, of course, and the fact that they're not just a fighter, instead they're a fighter, transport, combo ship, so there is a lot more that you can do with that than just a plain old TIE Fighter. However, if you're interested in the Sith TIE Fighter, this is still really good TIE Fighter, as it has everything that you could possibly want. It is probably still on the more expensive side now that the promotion's gone, but if you're interested, or might have already have one of these, have fun with it, because it's not a bad TIE Fighter. It's pretty interesting and unique, seeing as how it's red and black, and we don't normally see a TIE Fighter like this, and it's also triangular shaped, which is different than the hexagonal shaped regular TIE Fighter. So I hope you enjoyed this review. Maybe click the thumbs up, and I'll see you next time. Bye.